Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Hey, RJ, you've returned.
Hola, señor. Sí. Yeah, I was looking for our Mexican biathletes from the IBU Cup, but I couldn't find them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how was your scouting expedition?
No, it was really fun. We go almost every year between Christmas or around Christmas, New Year's to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, and it's always a nice break. It's actually been a very mild winter up till now. Sometimes we already have like the minus 25, and then it's a really nice break to go to plus 25 or a little more. But so far, Calgary has been pretty mild, and now this upcoming week they're saying minus 28 and snow and that kind of thing. So we planned it just a little off, but it's all good.
Well, get that weather out of the way now, because mid-March we need it to be okay.
Yeah, can't have too cold then.
No.
It was good. So
did you get any fun activities in? Were you I don't know, surfing, scuba diving?
No, we before we did we tried to get in one special trip from there, but this year we decided to stick around the resort, and we go into a town once a week, so or one time for each vacation. We did that. Yeah, just hanging out at the pool and by the beach and playing some volleyball and shuffleboard, and
Well, it sounds great.
it's a little bit of everything. Yeah,
That's really lovely. One thing I didn't ask you, offline or not, did you get any biathlon related Christmas presents this year?
No, I don't think so. Did you?
Yeah, I certainly did not. No. To be fair, I didn't ask for any, but I didn't receive any.
It would be challenging to come up with one.
Yeah, I know.
be honest.
I was trying to think of a book, but I wouldn't be able to read most of them because they're all in Norwegian or German at this point. But
Yeah, exactly, or French.
yeah, or French. Yep.
But I did order myself. I needed to order something from Biathlon Stocks, and I added a little keychain to it. So I guess that was my own Christmas gift,
Well, there you go.
biathlon related. Yeah.
Well, excellent. So did you get to watch when you were in Mexico? Did you watch any of the biathlon, or were you already back by that point?
No, so I missed the Aufschalke completely,
Okay.
and then I was back for Oberhof. So
Okay.
I can't
Wow.
say I watched anything live, but
Yeah. Well, it's a little earlier time. I think so we had two races a
4
day.
a.m.
So
or something.
I was gonna say the first races were at 3:30 a.m. your time, so you'll be forgiven.
Yeah, and as relaxing as the vacation was, we still needed to catch up on some sleep and stuff. So, and you you introduced me to the new Eurovision app, which is a bit of a struggle when you're just trying to log in, and it doesn't clearly say that, hey, we have a new app, try that. No, it's the old site, but there was nothing from Oberhof on there.
Yeah.
So it was very confusing.
So for everybody who is wondering, and I received this question many times on Twitter, but and if you have the question again, shoot me a message. I'll send you the link. But it's now eurovisionsport.com. And there's the app, and log in, and you'll have to create a profile, but the website is just slightly different than it used to be. And but it's all there. They didn't have the replays up initially, but they are there now. So you can find them. Just go click on biathlon, and you can see there'll be a schedule, and you can go back to previous days, and the races are there.
And I've noticed that I found it very confusing because they show the races, but it's actually the up and coming races.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's but I must say the app, both on the phone and iPad, work great. I have no issues with that. I have a browser on my smart TV, and that seems to have some issues with playing it.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
The app worked great on the computer. On Friday, I think it crashed like 4 times per race, or it froze up. So,
but it's new, right? So they have to
that's what I was going to say.
do some testing
I watched it on my computer this morning and did not have that problem. So hopefully that's been resolved. I will say that, I mentioned that they were 2 races a day, and on Friday I set my alarm to actually get up and watch the men's sprint. And of course I set it for 5:15 PM, which didn't do me any good. So I woke up and the races were mostly over. And then this morning, I had all the plans to get up and watch, but my daughter was up in the middle of the night. And so when I finally got back to bed after her, it was like 4:00, and I turned off my alarm. I was like, I'm just going to sleep. It's, I'll catch up on it later. But
see, once you live here in Calgary, by 4 a.m. you can start watching right away.
That's what I'm saying. I could just sit down and get myself a cup of coffee and I'd be good to go. So before we jump into the actual racing, I think that one of the topics that dominated the conversation around Oberhof, of course, had nothing to do with any of the results or the athletes. It was the weather, which, we always know that Oberhof can have some rough weather, but I think it was just pretty stark this week. There's been basically no snow, I think, leading in. So it was all either harvested snow or created snow. The course was basically just a ribbon of snow through the trees. There was mud everywhere. It wasn't exactly the most aesthetically appealing, but I think it led to a lot of...
I realized that I misunderstood the sustainability plan of the IBU when they say they want to go greener. I always thought... I didn't realize they meant it this way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
it
led to a lot of conversations about is biathlon going to be able to continue in places like Oberhof or Ruhpolding or Nova Mesto, low altitude, sort of center of the continent, lower latitude. So, are we going to see a time in the future, and what is the future of those venues? And so I don't know if you had any thoughts off the top, or if you just want me to go on for the next 3 hours about it.
No, and I think we talked about it with Christian Wolfen episode just before the season. And I think the reality is that it's, even at higher altitude, it's just less predictable. And I think that will be a problem even, obviously at the lower elevation, but even at the higher elevation, like the Rockies have had a very, very minimal amount of snow so far, where, the previous year, I think we had 6 feet by now. So it just varies more. And I don't anticipate that we're going to be in roller ski competitions replacing the skiing ones. But man-made snow is going to be pretty dominant, or a mix with man-made and natural snow. But Oberhof at least has the advantage that they have the tunnel there, because the reality is that you could make a tunnel long enough and then have a sprint race, because you only need a couple of shooting lanes, I suppose. But it's not. I just don't see it improve, to be honest.
Yeah, and I do want to say that for all of the volunteers who were out there and the people who are working to get the course in shape, like, they did an amazing job, because the conditions were. I think I read that they were working like all night, grooming the course and getting the rocks off of it, and so that's just incredible work. But it's difficult that they were put in that position to begin with. And I asked for or we were in conversations on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it, about what would be alternatives. And, some people suggested changing the schedule because Oberhof has more predictable snow in February. I don't know if that's an option, or having a venue, like a backup venue that's just sort of on standby. So and I posed, like, you could have Lenzerheide, just be like on standby,
but I mean, they also don't have a guarantee of snow, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I was just thinking, because it's 1,500 meters. So at least there's more likelihood, but
because they're also, I've been reading articles about, your traditional ski resorts that they just almost can't maintain anymore, because it's just the years that they don't have snow, they lose a lot of money. It's just not economically viable anymore.
Well, and you mentioned the Rockies.
But I mean, where in Europe could you go where you almost
I know.
Have a guarantee. You can go on where they do the altitude training on glaciers,
Let's say there,
which has a whole lot of other issues, right?
Yeah, we certainly
To have races there, and then you could, I don't know, like I'm guessing Kontiolahti and some places up north in Norway
I don't know,
or Sweden.
Lillehammer. I mean, is there always snow in Little? I don't know, but it's far enough north.
Because I don't think it's way up north, but I don't think it's that high.
Yeah,
like it's not at 2,500 meters or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and then the whole discussion about the environmental impact. I mean, it's great that we don't use fluoride anymore because we don't want to, create environmental damage. But then, and I have no idea, like I don't want to claim I know anything about how much it costs and what the environmental impact is of creating all this artificial snow. But, I can't imagine that has a what I call it, a net positive impact on carbon emissions and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a snow, but it's like a temperature, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause if it's whatever it was, I mean, it was 5, 6, 7 degrees. So, it's just hard to, this is only so much you can do at that point.
Yeah. But I mean, and I totally agree with the amazing job they did. And because I always think that in conditions like this, where it's like sand and very hard to ski, and that the lighter, smaller athletes would have an advantage. But given the fact that I would say almost every Norwegian athlete is like 7 feet tall and pretty sturdy, I don't think they were really bothered by it too much. But
speaking of, so this is a good transition point. I put up a picture. There was a picture of the podium from, I believe, I don't know if was it the pursuit or it must have been the sprint, because Caroline Gnon was in 6th place. And so she was at the end of the group for the flower ceremony. And she just looks like a freaking giant out there. Like she standing on the ground is like taller than Chavot, who was standing on the podium. It's really silly looking.
And Noten is not a giant by any means, right? She's not super tall or anything.
I think she's like 180 centimeters.
Okay.
So not she's not like 6'2", but she's whatever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like she's not short. But anyway, so or like compared to Magnussen, who was just a couple people down from her, she just looks like just gigantic. Anyway, so yeah, the Norwegians are all huge human beings.
Talking about Magnussen, how are the rankings between Hauser and Magnussen doing?
Well, we're not talking about that. Yeah. So Magnussen had a great weekend.
This is the first time since I've known you that you've disappointed me. Because Hauser's not doing great this season, and you're just abandoning her and dropping her for someone else.
So I sent RJ a couple of texts this weekend. I said I'm abandoning Hauser. First, it was for
JBB,
Boucher, and then Tangerbolt as well. So you can't call me a front runner. I'm only going after like the number 1 and number 2 in the overall.
Yeah, exactly.
I know Hauser.
And now you wonder why she never responded to your messages.
Yeah, Hauser is in 36th overall, and Magnussen is slightly ahead at 18th overall. Yeah,
Hauser's
that's a rough go. She has not scored a point since Östersund. Yeah, not good. Oh well. All right. Getting slightly more serious. Who is your first takeaway? What's your first takeaway?
Well, two that jumped at me was Stroemsheim Laegreid.
Yeah,
seems like although he can still improve.
Yeah,
his skiing, I think. He looks like the one we have come to know in the last couple of years.
Totally agree.
And I'm still happy to see that the Germans overall are still performing quite well this season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just one athlete that's doing really well and the rest is not great. it's just they I don't know if they just have the wax down or I don't know what it is, but they always seem to have a couple of athletes that are contending and for top spots, and even when they're not, they have decent to good results. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and so I'll come back to Strola in just a minute, but Dole, of course, won his second race of the season, and would you believe that is only the first time in his career that he's won 2 races? Never before, right? And he has 2 podiums, 6 top 10s, right? So, and that's in 10 total races. His career best is 3 podiums in a season and 12 top 10s. So, I think he's got a chance, right? To podium. I would be stunned, right, if he didn't at least match his career top 10 in podiums. Right? I think he's got one more in him this year.
I'm probably with millions of Germans, but I just hoping that he can have one more world championship where he gets a good result. But
right,
and who knows how long he might stick around? So
right, well, is he questioning himself already?
Well, I heard in the German press that they were debating because he made a comment about that he said that his plan is to retire, but that he didn't say it's a final decision yet.
Yeah,
and of course, they were speculating what that means and stuff, and I didn't see the actual quote, so I don't know if it was just said jokingly or not, but. If you have, I think from what I understand, for him, the reason to potentially retire has more to do with family life and having given so many years to the sport and impacting his family and stuff that it sounded to me like that's the bigger reason than his performance, because he can still
perform is there,
dance along with the top. And his first non-Norwegian on the overall score. So,
yes, yeah, and it's not like he's way down there either. I mean, he's 6th? Yeah, so he's definitely got a chance to be right in it. I'm just having a lot of fun with this season. What's really interesting too is if you look at his stats, like they're not dramatically different than prior years. It's just that he's been able to sort of put it together, right? And I guess he's more of those, who puts it together and gets to the top. So,
it reminds me a little bit, and I'm probably just looking for it, but when Eric Lesser had his last season,
right?
And, he had some really good results in Oslo, and just there must be something to do with not caring so much about the result, in the sense that I'm just going to enjoy all the people around it, and I'm going to do my stinking best, and if that's not good enough for top 10, then I tried, right? Where maybe younger athletes get a little obsessed with scoring. Well, I mean, for the Norwegians, I can imagine, because if you don't score top 10, you're demoted to the IBU Cup if you're lucky. If you're lucky,
you got to win. So would you believe this is Dole? This is compared to the average athlete. This is his fastest that he's ever been. Not by a ton, but yeah.
Maybe they do have really good waxing this year.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think that we've seen it work pretty well. I was going to bring it back to, you mentioned Laegreid. He definitely looks like he has found himself again. So I think I did this last time, but he started out this season 12th, 20th, and 25th. Since then, he's gone 2nd, 4th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. So pretty darn good. And
not always behind JT Bow, right?
No, he's found himself behind Stroemsheim a couple times now too.
Well, yeah,
and no, he's been ahead of JT Bow, I think, just as often as he's been ahead just as often as behind. So he's shooting better than he ever has in his career, which is saying something, because
no kidding,
right? So
which is really interesting, because when I see him race, I always feel like his shooting is a bit weaker.
I take that back. So before this weekend, when I wrote the stats down, he was better. He's 92.1% right now, as opposed to 93.5 last year. So But yeah, he's really fallen off a cliff. But yeah, I was gonna say he's now at the front and at the top of the leaderboard like every single race. So I think I'm done. I'm done worrying about him. He's not as fast as he was last year or the year before, but it doesn't seem to matter. He's still right up there. He's fast enough. That's all that really matters. Speaking of Stroemsheim, in the Stroemsheim, I think I'm close enough there. He got his first podium in the same race that he, reached across the firing line. But he did himself one better and got himself a win.
Yeah,
That
was cool, and in doing so, beating
yes,
JT Bow in pretty much 1-on-1.
Oh yeah. Well, so the top was the top handful, right? In that there was Laegreid and there was Stroemsheim and there was JT Bow, and they were shooting sort of close to each other, right? And that he was the one that came out on top of that bunch was pretty cool, right? I mean,
yeah, and I know that in the final ski he was with Laegreid, but
it was the shooting. Yes,
where you would expect that kind of the opposite scenario where Bo would just start shooting like crazy and put Stroemsheim under. But he was shooting rapid and strong. So
yeah, no, it totally flustered JT. But yeah, no, I mean, good for him. Did you see on the last lap? So there were a couple times where he and Laegreid were sort of asking each other to pull through a little bit on leading, and so he had Laegreid kind of come through and lead, and then it was like, I don't know, 15 seconds, 20 seconds later, he just puts on this crazy burst and just goes around him, and Laegreid, he had no chance of following it. And
he did the same in the relay today. Did you see that?
Yes,
I think the same spot even.
Yeah, it was just like he just went bananas and was like, all right, I'm gone. Yeah, see you guys later. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm really happy for him. Talked about this before, but he did it the hard way. And there's no way. Like I think their 6 is probably set for a while now. I guess
You think so?
I think, right? It has to be.
Well, Stroem has I know he's a bit younger, but
yeah,
he has a case where he had good results so far, and then he wins
he won on the
IBU Cup right away. So
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I guess Christensen's a question mark, right? Because he's going to come back.
Well, that too.
Yeah, and we'll see how he does. But Bowden,
I think Buchan might as well retire by now.
Yeah, I know, he's so far behind. Well, so Bowden, right? So he comes up, and in the sprint race, he does an extra penalty loop, and then
I think that's really cool. That you're so much faster that you just throw in a extra lap.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else. I thought you were going to say it's kind of cool that he was actually nervous. And then he started too early in the pursuit, so he gave himself a 30-second penalty. So didn't do himself any favors.
No.
But so I think
that doesn't count against the ski time. So
yeah, I'll imagine he'll be going backwards I shouldn't say going backwards. He'll be going the odd man out on going to the IBU Cup, and we'll see. I guess Christensen's got to hold his spot. I guess this is just lunacy, but
Jakob Fuck having a 5th, I believe, was awesome to see.
Yes.
What I've seen so far from Seminator, I would love it, but I don't see that happen anymore. That he, will do something like that. But Jakob Fuck is how old is he?
He's 36. Yeah, 373 career races.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And totally unexpected. I just didn't see it coming at all, especially in a sprint race. I thought...
Yeah, but he was one of the few that shot clean. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I was going to say, it was... With him, it was like if he had an individual, right, where he goes like 20 for 20, I'd be like, okay, that's where he's going to do it, but I just didn't see it coming. Yeah, in a sprint, I just thought that would have been of all the ones, I would have said that's the one where he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was happy to see him. Sort of if you're going through the list of the top 10 in the sprint, and you've got Dole and Laegreid and Stroemsheim and JT Bow, and then Falk, and then Kuhn and Tariabo and Ponsaloma, Stalder, Samuelson. It's like, which one of these things doesn't belong?
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, talking about, with all respect, older athletes, Tariabo is, I think it was last season that I was saying, maybe he needs to make room for the younger guard, but I don't, there's no reason why if you look at the results.
Hey, he's second in the overall. He's 80 points back. You can't send him anywhere.
No, exactly.
And this is the hard thing, right? Because he's 35. He's 35? Oh, man. When did that happen?
Yeah.
That's nuts. But
I just wonder if people like himself, and I would think he gets along with pretty much everybody, but, someone like him and Jakob Falk and I guess Benny Dole, Simonator, like the older guard, if they have some sort of special connection that they would, see each other more during a weekend like this.
Yeah.
Be curious to know. I mean, it doesn't mean you get along if you've been around for the same time, but
yeah. You often see that, right, in sports, right? Like the longer guys are around, it's like somebody that you had this like sort of sports hatred for, like not that you actually hated him, but like you just, it sort of goes away just because you've got the shared memories and the shared experiences, and so I would imagine that they
remember that time, 18 years ago when it was snowing and blah. Yeah,
because I mean they have memories that it's just a lot of these guys, even like just a few years younger than them, just wouldn't have. But
well, for sure.
It's one of those weird things because in my mind it doesn't work this way. But Tariabo's his overall globe was before Foucault won his first. Like it's just strange that it doesn't seem real to me, But
I was just thinking, but I think it applies to a lot more athletes still. But the ones that have raced with Olan or Bjørnala.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's I guess there's a separation between those guys and the new younger ones that have never raced him.
Yeah. But it's actually, that would be an interesting thing to look at is like, how many are still left?
Yeah.
Anyway,
now you got me writing that down and
I know,
adding it to the list of things I want to. Because I was in my head, I was like, I should look into it. No, I really don't have time for that. And then you said it, and I'm like,
nah, you got to look into it now.
Yeah.
And then I was going to mention JT Bow. We spend a lot of time talking about him, but just interesting. He definitely didn't. He doesn't like Oberhof. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back here because I started writing these little weekend previews, and I noted in there that he had an awesome Worlds last year, but prior to that he had just 2 podiums in the last 4 competitions in Oberhof, so not a lot. And Laegreid was way more successful there than JT Bow was, and so my prediction was that maybe he wouldn't have a great weekend, and he didn't. Right. I mean, he was still, it's all adjusted. He was 4th and 5th. And I think for most guys, that would be the weekend of the season.
Great weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Coming off of, several wins over the last, 3 wins in the last 4 races, that wasn't quite what he was hoping for. And I think
maybe he's affected also with the snow conditions there, typically soft and.
Yeah. Yeah. But he also he's got a couple of races now where he just has these weird shootings, because there was a pursuit race from a couple of years ago where he had 7 misses, and then obviously he had this,
and he got in second.
I actually have it written down.
No, don't worry.
It's like 11th. It's really it's not that bad. And then he has the just yesterday he had was it 3 misses in the last shooting, right? Because we were just talking about it with Stroemsheim having the putting the pressure on him, and I just find that to be interesting. That just doesn't just doesn't like it too much.
Well, it's I'm sure they all have their favorites, and most of the athletes we ever talked to said Antholz is their favorite resort, but
everybody,
doesn't necessarily mean that they like the races there per se. But
he was 8th with 7 misses in that race. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to look into what the average shooting percentage was, but that's
that race.
That's well, if there was a day where everybody was shooting badly or not, but don't I don't want you to dive into that. But
I can tell you. So it was average was like 2 point. Just off the top of my head, just eyeballing it, probably 2 or 3 misses somewhere in that range. It was not. No, it was not awful.
No.
So the top 10, it was 2 misses, 2 misses, 3 misses, 2 misses, 4 misses, 1, 2, 7, 3, 0.
Hey, we've talked a lot about that Norwegian depth on the men's side, but I think the French are getting into a situation with the women that they're gonna.
Oh my God!
Soon gonna have to send people down that deserve a spot on the World Cup by their results, but
our girl JT. Well, that's a good slip right there, Justine Brazé-Boucher. She had 2 misses in the prone shooting in the sprint, and I was like, it was a fun run, but I guess I had to end at some point.
Yeah.
And then I looked and I saw her splits on the second lap, and I think I even tweeted something about it. I was like, she's actually running pretty well, right? If she goes clean, like she's got a chance. And look, she did, right? So she 8 for 10, but she still ended up winning the sprint because she's just on having one of that kind of season. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Poor Pride still. She seems to always, have a great race, and then there's just one athlete who has wings that day. And
I know this is 4 heartbreakers in a row I shouldn't say 4, 3 heartbreakers this season that it's right that she's just missed out on a win. It's got to come. But and so she gets the win, and then Simone comes back from the dead in the pursuit race. I guess I shouldn't say the dead because she's never dead in a pursuit. But she started 40-ish seconds back. 40 exactly.
I was looking at the isolated time, and so she had the fastest isolated time.
Yeah,
with Tandrevold 25 seconds behind her.
Well, so that was another one I was going to mention in a little bit. I guess we can come back to her, but I mean, both Simone and Tandrevold or Simone and Brazé-Boucher just in each of their races, right, had just these amazing moments where they just turned it on and ran away from everybody.
And I mean, I'm also thinking of Vogt having just seemed to have found her way a bit with the shooting again, and I think she had her second prone miss of the season this weekend. But shooting 97.5, but even being topped by Janina Hettig-Wals, who only has 1 miss so far out of 80 prone shots.
Are you serious? 2 German women.
Yeah. Well, and then there's Irina Petrenko and Susan Quelm that have also just 1 miss, but they have fewer races. But it's and then so Hettig-Wals has a standing rate of 80%, and Vogt has 91.25%.
Interesting.
So her shooting has been, what she kind of was known for so far.
Yeah. When she started out so good on the skis in Östersund, and I was really optimistic when we saw that. I was like, all right, here we go. This is going to be it. And then it just hasn't, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but, I feel like she's fallen off considerably in the last couple weekends. Yeah.
But then even on the total hit rate of 94.38%, she's still beat by another German, Franziska Preutz, 94.62. And then Ima Kaputsova from Slovakia has 96%.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty crazy numbers. And Lisa Vitozzi fourth. So
Pretty good.
She's figured something out in prone, eh?
No kidding, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a ton, but that's still every time that she shoots clean prone now, it's just like, it's just what she does, I guess, or 4 out of 5, right? But I'm going to jump back to Simone for just a second because this is what I was looking at, right? So she started 40 seconds back. After the first shooting, she was 54 seconds back. Second shooting, she was 50 seconds back. And then third shooting, 10 seconds back. And then she ended up winning by 10 seconds. And that was one thing I was going to notice because that was a huge, huge jump up at the third shooting. Kind of helps when you go, perfect for that middle stretch. But her shooting times, so she went first shooting 26.1 seconds, 23.5 seconds, 17.6 seconds, 18.1 seconds. And those were the 17.6 seconds was 3.8 seconds faster than the second fastest standing shooting for shooting 3. And the 18.1 seconds for the final shooting was 3.6 seconds faster than Baserga, who had the second fastest shooting for the last standing shooting. So she was just getting up there and letting it fly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, which I guess is what she does, but that was still crazy.
Yeah, and that interestingly makes me connect to the Canadians who were missing because they're fast shooting typically. So I don't have any insights, unfortunately, but they had their national trials for the Youth World Championships and World Championships, as far as I can figure out. So it looks like that even the Emma Lunders and Christine Gauss and Adam Runnels had to prove that they were able to represent Canada on the upcoming World Championships. Which I don't know, it could have something to do with that they wanted to go to Canada for Christmas anyway, and then maybe have a little bit more time. I don't know. I can't imagine that being a reason. Maybe that's just a different approach to give everybody a fair shot. But I was quite disappointed to not see any Canadians on the World Cup in Oberhof. And I'm really hoping that we'll see them in Ruhpolding.
I think last year they did something similar, but they participated in the relay of the first in Pokljuka, but they were still there,
Yeah.
And so I just find that interesting that they delayed the return back so long. If the athletes were on board, then great. Then I'm on board. But it just seems like
and I mean for
interesting decision.
Both Emma Lunder and Christian Gau are not having their best season so far, so maybe it was good to have a break, but I'm assuming that since it's the national trials that was already planned that they were going to be there, but maybe they just needed a break from the World Cup, and since they live in Camward, they might as well participate in the national trials. But it seemed really odd to me that they weren't at the World Cup. So
odd, and it was sad, right? I just don't remember. Yeah.
Well, I was saying to you earlier, it's already, unfortunately, such a small sport in Canada relative to many other sports and relative to the opportunities we have here. And then to not see any on the World Cup is, it's not going to draw more people to watch it. You already, it's not in your favor that a fan, if you want to see live, that you have to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then, to not see any Canadians participate is, it's
hard.
It's not helping the growth of the sport here, I think. But
no.
But yeah,
like I said,
there could be a lot of other reasons that we're not aware of.
Yeah, and if the athletes, like I said, if the athletes were on board, then I'm on board. I hope that's the case. But it's just
they weren't on board for playing to Oberhof, that's for sure.
No, they certainly were not. Speaking of North Americans, did you see the American women this morning?
I know what I did see is that because they had a high number, they start shooting first. when they all get there. But she also left first with the clean shooting, so that was super cool.
Deidre Irwin was she had she's been on a pretty good run recently, and so she had the Americans up there, and even going into, I think Chloe Levins closed out the relay, and when they handed off to her, they were in 7th place and still had a chance at making the flower ceremony. She didn't have the greatest leg, and she mentioned that was on her Instagram page. Like, she said that it was her first time in that experience, and it was a learning experience. So, it's kind of cool. But I thought it was neat. As an American, you just don't see Americans in that position all that often. So it's kind of fun to see it.
But even though they're not participating for gold, really, it's still cool to keep an eye on, to see one leave the range first, and they could still make it to the flowers. Like that's generates excitement.
That's it, right? Yeah, you're like, hey, look, and there they are. It may not happen,
right? But yeah.
So it was fun, right? And especially, like, I didn't necessarily expect it with this group of women. Like, there's talent there, but they're relatively inexperienced. But Kelsey Dickinson had a good race, so I was happy. And even there was some good racing on the IBU Cup for the American women this week too. So that was nice to see, because I think that Deidre Irwin had the one moment in Lenzerheide, but otherwise it's been kind of a little bit of a down year for the American women. Jackie Garso, that was the woman, the third leg, and she had a really good third leg. So just wanted to.
Did she come up from IBU?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So way to go, American women. It was nice to see. Did you watch the relays in their entirety?
I did.
Okay. Yeah.
But I must say. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I didn't think that these were the most thrilling relays. So I'm just going to put out my idea again. One the idea I had in the first trimester recap, the shrunken relays where each athlete just shoots once. It's just to speed it up. The men's relay, when the Norwegian men were ahead by 2 minutes. Right, and they just sort of,
and that's with JT Bowe taking a stroll in the park.
Yeah, did he have any pressure at all?
Pushed his stroller with his kids in it.
Honestly, that would have made it a little more interesting.
Yeah,
the splits were just, they were up by 2 minutes. The Germans finished 50 seconds ahead of the Italians, who finished almost 50 seconds ahead of the Swedes. Way to go, Switzerland! I think that was the best finish for the Swiss men in ages.
I was actually gonna mention Stalder specifically, how he's having an awesome season so far.
He really is.
We've seen in the previous years that his shooting is really good, but he's keeping up, and I think this weekend Hardwick showed that he's on his way back. So
he's coming. Yeah, he's coming. Yeah. It was a bumpy start, but so it was just hard. And then the women's
Heike Gross, right?
Yeah, Heike Gross was good, but I was gonna say the women's relay, the splits. The Norwegians ended up within 10 seconds, but it wasn't really that close. And the splits kind of were solidified after the third, or the midway through the third leg. They just didn't change. Anyway,
what's going on with Hanna?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because we've talked about it before, where we were surprised to see her in the 4th spot in the relay earlier in the season, and even in the 3rd, it's just not. So I wonder if that's also a big mental thing, where she's had some poor results in the relay a couple of times now. Does that create more stress or mental diversions for the race that she's doing now? Because it's not pretty.
That's an excellent question. It looks horrible, right? That's probably a little bit too harsh, but she does not look comfortable. No. And obviously the results aren't comfortable either.
No.
But I don't know. And she didn't have. So traditionally, she does really well at Oberhof. She did not. She had a good pursuit race, I guess, but the sprint race was not good. I don't know. I don't know where she is, right? So she doesn't look good in the relays. She does not looking good really anywhere.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the right for her. It's hard because I don't know where the right is it a mental issue? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it made me think of we talked about QFM before, where when he started his season really strong, and then you keep having good results, it builds a lot of confidence. And clearly, Hanna is riding the other side of that situation where it's just not been really going consistently.
No,
and of course, this doesn't help. Even though I don't think that they'd be challenging for the podium, but it's still it could have been.
Well, and this is becoming a pattern, right? Because you mentioned the relay. I mean, she obviously had problems last year, and so that's why they sort of switched them up. Or maybe they didn't have problems, but Elvira was decidedly stronger. Hey, it's hard, right? Because Pearson handed off to Hanna, and they were not. Yeah, they were right there. I just looked it up. They were 4.3 seconds behind the French. So, like, they were right in the race. And you would think with Hanna and Elvira right there, like, it could have been a good mano-a-mano. But
they were 33 seconds behind at the finish. Now, I know that France, maybe didn't go all out, but they were still, ahead of Norway by enough that they had to still keep going pretty fast. But, take 25 seconds off that for a penalty loop.
Yeah.
And then
right.
a lot closer.
Right. And then the other interesting thing, too, was Noten skied away from Hanna on the last lap. And, of course, Hanna had the penalty loop, right? But still, I mean, Knoten, she is definitely faster this year, but that shouldn't even be close. Like, Hanna should be faster.
Well, at least shouldn't be skiing away from her.
Yeah, exactly, right? It shouldn't be noticeable. Like, they should be at the very least on par, but it was like, and I don't know, was Hanna just toast? Like, did she not have the legs? Was she sick? Or was it just like, was she still in her head? I have no idea. Right after the shooting.
And did you see Lisa Teresa Hauser's performance today?
I didn't.
And that's right, because she didn't perform because they were a lap before.
You
and the third lap. So she never.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
They do everything to get her off that team, hey?
Yeah, right. They just can't let her. Well, she raced just one time this weekend. She raced the sprint and then finished 60th and chose not to start the pursuit.
Yeah.
Which.
But remember, she was sick, but, the Austrian women's team had so much success
without her. I know.
Without her, and now they're like, "Hey, man, we're just gonna let us.
We're just gonna get last." And we can't.
No, but it's it's too bad to see that whole team not having the greatest time right now.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that Gondler can still put it together later. Have you seen this woman on Ondexer? She's on the IBU Cup. I'm actually looking her up right now.
From Austria?
You guys are going to listen to me typing. She's actually had a really good year. So I'm hopeful that she can come up pretty soon. This weekend, she was on, she went 6th and 2nd in the IBU Cup in the sprint and the pursuit this weekend. And she's been on the juniors a lot. And then she has 3 wins and 4 races on the juniors this year. So she is 20 years old. So look out for her.
Wow. Yeah. That's wow.
Yeah. And she shot this weekend with those finishes. She only shot 78%.
Wow.
So pretty good.
Yeah, you could say that.
Excited about that. So there's my new favorite coming up. Speaking of poor shooting, did you? And I don't want to spend too much time on him just because I just feel bad. But did you see Jacqueline today?
Yeah. And it's. I just can't help himself, I guess.
Yeah, like what do you do if you're on his team? That's what I was wondering. Like, if you are, it's not like Perot had like an awesome, right? Or like Fabien Claude, actually, like he was running well, and I know Perot had a penalty lap himself, but like QFM, like, I don't know. It's one thing if he does it it's one thing if he does it in a pursuit or in a mass start or something and just sort of does it to himself, but
right. And I think you could argue that today he was already in a position of all or well, no, was Eric Perot was he second when he took over, or they were still in it, right?
They were still in it. They were 42 seconds behind. So with 2 legs to go, I mean, you're not, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I could imagine that you're like, okay, we're gonna either, have a great Emile Jacquelin day and get back to the top, and then QFM can hope to finish it off, or it's boom or bust. But I don't know. Like, is it impossible for him to be like, okay, I'm just gonna completely exaggerate my slow shooting. My goal is to be the slowest shooter of the day, and see if that works for me. Because clearly, I guess there's always that realistic hope that a day it will click, right? And then it puts you in a great position. But the odds are pretty bad for it. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Eventually,
but you can just see, like, I saw, I don't remember what shooting it was, but you can just see the facial expression during his shoot. Like, I don't know the order when he missed, but you see him shoot, and then there's 1 or 2 misses in it, and you can just see him look skywards, like, oh, here we go again. But
I totally, it's. I mean, again, we've talked about he's been pretty open about his mental health struggles. So that's why I don't want to just like jump on him and pound him, but it's hard, right? No, and I don't know how you break that. I don't know how you break that mental loop. And that's where you need like a good sports psychologist or something, but it's hard.
You would think, France is not a small team.
Yeah. They should have the resources.
You would think that there's some resources to help him, and maybe they've done that, and maybe he's on his way back or whatever. But it's just weird to see that. Like, it's one thing to just have bad luck or have bad skis one day, but it's always the same thing.
Yeah,
like he skis, all out, shoots to break the world record in fastest shooter, and then. Yeah, it's catching up after that.
He has, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. He has talent, right? And he has ability. And so that's what makes it hard.
Yeah.
But, all right, we can move on. It struck me today, and it was hard. I want to say, please, go.
Maybe we do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wanted to highlight the Polish women in ninth spot.
Yes.
And Anna Maka, another great race.
Yeah.
We've talked about her a couple times before. And, we talked to their coach. Hopefully you've heard that interview over the Christmas break. And, this is a good result, top 10.
Yes, it was. And then Natalia Sidorovich, actually, I wanted to highlight as well. Because... she where was she? So she ended up 43rd in the pursuit, but it was only because she had 3 misses right at the very end. She was 15 for 15 to start, and so she had really brought herself up. And so it was fun to see her running so well until that last spot. But she's young, right? I can't imagine she's had a whole lot of experience with, she had an opportunity for a huge personal best. So it was good to see her in that spot.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the pursuit, did you, I don't know how much you remember of it, but the final shooting just felt like nobody could knock them all down.
Yeah.
It was just
one
unreal.
After another where you're like, oh, maybe this one. No.
And it's like, yeah, right.
Maybe this one. No.
And that's how you get Tangervold coming back from, was it Bib 17 to get the podium. Right. Elvira was 11th and she ends up 4th. Right. So you just had the huge comeback. So, I was very impressed with Tangervold in that race, right? Because starting out in 17th, right, you have no expectations that she's going to be able to make it into the podium race. So,
right. Elvira Oeberg, right, from 11 to 3.
Yeah.
Oh, and Julia Simon 10 to 1.
It was interesting, right? So speaking of Tangervold and Elvira, they started out the 4th lap together, or the 5th lap, the last lap, and Elvira like put in this burst and like seemed to pull away. And it was exactly, we've seen Tangervold do this before, where like the gap got out to about 4 or 5 seconds, and then Tangervold reeled her back in, and just went right around her and raced away. So there's kind of an interesting difference in tactics there. And I think Elvira might have just burned herself out. She just had nothing left.
Maybe, yeah.
We
were pretty harsh on Hanna, justifiably so. Perhaps, but she did go from 52nd to 7th in the pursuit, so that's in itself. Yeah, she was
20th,
112 back. Or am I look? No, sorry, I'm looking at the isolated pursuit time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there we go. Yeah.
Sorry,
still 52nd and 20th is a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I wanted to because we're getting a little bit late here, but. Sophie Chauveau, I feel like has not had the greatest season, but she had a really good weekend. So she
you could say that,
yeah, third in the sprint. So really nice to see her to get up there, and then she looked really good in the the whole team did, but she looked really good in the relay as well. Because I think she was going up against Hanna in that leg, and so she gets credit to bringing France up, really pulling away.
I was also looking at Lampich. She had a very concerning stat developing with the last start in Lenzerheide and Oberhof. Because I'm going to read you. Let's start in Oslo last season. I'm going to name you every ski rank since then per race, individual or non-team race. First, third, second, first, and then all of a sudden third and 6th. But luckily in the pursuit she was first again.
Oh, thank goodness! I wonder what happened. Yeah. Skis?
I don't know.
6th?
That's very possible.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because she actually, for her shooting was 70% in the race that she was 6th fastest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's absurd.
It's pretty wild.
But, and
I'm sorry. Did you see how far back she was when she was 6th? Was it like there was a tight bunching, or was she like way back?
I can quickly look. Skiing. Here. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I can't find it quickly, but I was going to say Baiba was back.
Yes, she was. I know she wasn't pleased with her racing, but
yeah, did you chat with her?
No, I didn't. I just saw her Instagram, but I will reach out to her just to see how she's been.
And especially the result today in the relay.
Yeah.
Was one to forget, but you know, at the same time, great to see her back. So
yeah, and she's extremely mentally tough, so I don't think she's going to have any difficulty dumping that from the memory bank and moving right on. I mentioned her earlier, but Caroline Knoden is just sort of like routinely showing up in the top 10 now, which is I would never have even come close to predicting before the season. She has now 7 top 10s in 10 races. Her career most in a season before this year was 3, and she had 7 top 10s total before this season. And it's not like she wasn't racing. She raced 23 races, then 18, then 23. So she's run several solid, full years right now, and now she has 7 top 10s and 10 races. So way to go, her.
Good for her, because I think I've expressed it at the start of the season where I felt like she was always, just a good athlete to have on the relay and stuff, but never somebody I could see challenging for the World Cup, and I still don't see that happen. But she's made some serious improvements, and
she has, she's solid. Like, she's really good now.
Yeah,
and I just would never have predicted that. I would have said I was thinking a good season for her would be like 15th overall, and she's 7th overall right now. So that's awesome. Hopefully she can keep rolling, because 2 6th places this week, and I didn't really even blink an eye at it, which is, I mean, that's sort of one of those things of, well, I guess she's one of those women now. I'm
going kind of back and forth. But
we're at that
started
stage
to develop this very strong interest in Hanna Oeberg. And if you go to realbiathlon.com and you look for her name and you just look at her career overview, I do not recall such a consistent group of lines all going in the,
now I got to do it
and right connection or direction. Like, everything continues to improve since basically 2014 when she had her first race. So it's
wow, it's pretty wild, actually.
It's
not like a super steep curve, but it's
it's so
every
consistent,
single
right?
year.
Yeah, and she is 31, so she's still plenty of years to keep it going.
That's awesome. No, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. Ever since we spoke to Coach Torgerson before the Lenzerheide races, I will, unfortunately, for me, because this is just one more thing to add to all the biathlon things I'm looking up, but I will keep track of all the different Polish athletes. So, and this is the sad thing, is he's the women's coach, but I'll include the men too. So I wanted to shout out Konrad Badic, who scored his first World Cup points this weekend. So, yeah. But no, because that's I'm getting emotionally invested in Natalia Sidorovich, and so anyway.
I had one major swing. I noticed one major swing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the sprint, I noticed that Sturla was growing a mustache, and I'm like, he's riding the mustache train. And then the next race, I see his face without anything. So that was a big shocker to me.
Well, maybe the deal was he had to win to keep it, right? I mean,
who knows? But I actually looked it back, because I was like, did I just see things? But no, he had the stash, and then all of a sudden, maybe they said, if you can make it on a night between races without shooting anybody in the hotel, then you can take it off. Magnum, maybe they call him Magnum. Do you watch that series?
That's really funny. Oh man. Yeah, no, I didn't. And now I'm gonna have to go back and watch, because I didn't notice it. And I'm gonna want to get a picture of him with the.
Yeah, man, and on those moments, I'm like, oh, what's wrong with my brain? Because it's like, of all the things to notice,
No, I'll do that too sometimes, though.
But it's funny though, because I was watching the women's pursuit. I'm pretty sure it was, and I wasn't really paying attention because I was doing something else and watching it kind of on the side. And then someone crossed the finish line, and for whatever reason, I was like, Vanessa Vogt must have fallen. And then literally 15 seconds later, they showed this replay of her going. And did you see her fall?
No. Oh, man. She went down on her bottom. Yeah.
No, she went in a full split.
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah. Oh man, it was not a pretty sight.
Well, at least she's flexible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
It looked like gymnastics championships.
Oh, good gracious.
But anyway, it's those are the things that I for no obvious reason, seemed to pick up on like somebody not having a mustache or somebody
Vanessa Vogt must have
not
been there.
being behind the athlete that she was before.
Yeah, what happened there? There was a. You mentioned Hartwig earlier, but there was was it the Pursuit? Anyway, he went through a couple of polls in short succession. Yeah, so I don't know. I'll have to go back.
Did you ever hear what happened to Stroemsheim in the relay?
No,
because he was behind, and then he was all of a sudden he had caught up with the group in front of him, and then all of a sudden he was behind again. And
how did we get to this point and not talk about this in the relay? Did you saw in the relay the missed handoffs?
No, I missed that.
So Laegreid he comes up to hand off to tap off the relay, right?
Okay. I thought you meant they tried to tap, but they missed each other. But
no,
he wasn't there.
Nobody there. Yeah, there's nobody there. And
but then, it was not just them.
Yeah, no, and the Slovenians too, right?
Yeah,
that was so weird. What happened?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
the commentators were saying maybe the rifle or ski check maybe took longer, but
yeah, it was ridiculous.
But, I mean, it was pretty foggy at that time, so
they couldn't see him coming.
But still, it's
you would think that just somebody on the course would some of the coaches would relay back, like, hey,
yeah. And it's not like that they can stand there. It's not that they only have 3 seconds in that box.
Yes. Yeah.
Like they can stand there 10 seconds in advance, especially.
And they look
for
completely unprepared. Like, oh my god! Like here we go.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah, I just don't remember. We've seen some interesting things this year that I don't remember seeing in the past, like that, and the reaching across, firing your rifle in the hotel. It's been pretty interesting.
Did you see that? Was it Eric Perot who dropped his ski pole beyond the range? Firing
no,
line?
I didn't. I missed that. Yeah.
But he did the right thing. He just left it there and
got a new one.
He got a new one. Yeah.
Yeah. I assume he didn't go the rest of the race. The ski pole that would have been pretty exciting.
No, but it's probably not the easiest place to get a pole, right? Because there's a lot of areas blocked off.
Right. You have to get off the range. Right.
Yeah. But it was good to see that they followed the rules.
Right. The last two things I wanted to say was Johannes Dahle. I thought that was pretty cool comeback in the Pursuit because he was sort of off the range, or off the radar. But again, enough people missed ahead of him, and he got all the way back up onto the podium. And then Jean Richard is a French woman who had some really great finishes. She was high on the juniors and then high on the IBU Cup, and comes up, and in her first races on the World Cup, she finished in 8th in the sprint and then 9th in the Pursuit. So just add one more to the French the French tables, right?
Yeah, we kind of started with that and we never really got into it, but
right, because that's just what
pretty good bunch going there.
The two at the top, plus Jean Monod, plus now Chavot, if she can keep this up, plus Richard, that's 5.
See, I find, and I think it's been pretty clear by now that I have a weak spot for Lou Jean Monod, but she's one of those athletes that after she was sick, she's come back, hasn't really been in the picture.
Yeah.
But yet she's still in 8th spot because she keeps having good results.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And no podiums, but
she finished,
I think that's
9th and 5th.
I see it as a sign of a champion.
Yeah. 9th and 5th
potential
without
champion.
being anywhere close to her A game, right?
Yeah.
She just kind of was hanging in there. I agree.
And even when she came back from her sickness, she was 15, 13, and 14.
Yeah.
Which is still scoring a good number of points.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, I totally agree. I know we're into the silly session now, but you saw the celebrations in the Pursuit. I would imagine, Julia Simone was pretty fiery and emphatic in her celebration. And no surprise, I mean, coming off so many wins, Brazavic did not have much of a celebration at all. She just kind of came off quietly. And then Tangerwold was really pumped with her podium. And I thought it was interesting. I didn't realize that Tangerwold and Simone were such good friends. And that Tangerwold had a dream that Simone was going to win the Pursuit. And
yeah, I heard that.
yeah, so I thought that was quite something. But
I noticed too in the interview with Simone that they were asking, like, he didn't directly ask, like, what's the situation like in your
yeah, I know.
team?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was sort of the atmosphere seems pretty good in the French team. But
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
it's, yeah, I must say I don't really recall if they're like, I do remember thinking, way before when Justine Bréjaboucher was racing before she had her baby.
Mm-hmm.
They always seemed very different personalities.
Totally different. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
but
Well, she's just so, like, she's just sort of cool as a cucumber. I just could listen to her talk for days because I just enjoy the way she speaks.
Justine?
Bréjaboucher. Yeah, Justine.
Yeah.
Right. I just enjoy the way she speaks, and I enjoy her general demeanor about things. There was one of the races in Lenzerheide she was talking about. She obviously won, and she was talking about how her performance. She goes, "Yeah, it was pretty good," right? And she wasn't like trying to like intentionally downplay it. That was just her response. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I just So I nothing against Julia Simone. That's just I tend towards that a little more. But
I'm still kind of confused with the coaching there, because as far as I understand, they still have the same coaches.
Yeah.
Even though the men switched, and obviously there doesn't, not that I think a coach can have that much impact, but it hasn't really improved the situation much when you just strictly look at results.
Yeah.
But the French women seem to fare pretty well, even though they, had the, the situation between Simon and Justine Bréjaboucher, and still
it's pretty well.
It's working. It's working for
them.
They're amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. It's been pretty interesting. You can always count on the French to have some interesting off the course stuff, right? So
yeah.
But
so we got
please, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to jump to Ruhpolding.
Yeah, please, yeah.
So we got women and men relay, which is interesting too, that they have those back to back. The last races in Oberhof, and now the first two races in Ruhpolding.
Oh, is that real? Is that actually the way it is? I haven't looked at the schedule yet.
Yep. The 10th,
is
which is probably Thursday.
Wow, it is. You're right. 10th and 11th.
Oh, Wednesday even. So the women's relay is on Wednesday, the men's relay on Thursday, women's sprint Friday, men's sprint Saturday, and then the pursuits on Sunday. And then
that's an interesting schedule.
The next interesting schedule is Antholz.
Short individual.
They start with a short individual. I actually always thought that short individuals were only done when they ran out of snow.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that the first pre-scheduled short individual for the World Cup? I've seen them do it on the IBU Cup. I'm starting to wonder now,
because I know in Canmore they've done it a couple times in the past.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's because they just don't have enough track or something.
Yeah.
But, planned short individuals. But yeah, the back-to-back relays is, I've never seen that before.
That is interesting.
But
hopefully
they have better snow.
Well, hopefully, I don't know that they do. It looks pretty rough there. But as I say, hopefully we have some closer relays than 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's something you can count on for the men, but
I don't know.
Last thing I did notice, which surprised me, is that I find, German crowd is awesome, right?
Yep.
So constantly active and loud, and but I've always really appreciated how they cheered for everybody, and it seemed like that was not the case this race weekend. Like it was dead quiet for
more
non-German racers.
Yeah.
And not even like that quiet as in we don't want to cheer them on, but it's almost like they were just only following the Germans.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that. I'll have to go back and watch. Yeah.
Anyway, maybe this was just a warm up for them for next weekend. So.
Yeah, they're saving their breath for rope holding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else?
And we're going to go from isn't rope holding? Is that everybody's favorite shooting range? Right, because it's downhill into it, a little bit protected. Everyone shoots great there.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Then we go back to ski speed. Although if the snow is mushed, then
that's true. Yeah. Well, something to watch.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here.
Yep. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you for if you're still here at the hour 15 mark, thank you for hanging with us. I wish we had like a coupon code or something we could drop in here just for all the people who made it to the end. But
we could put a code in, but it's not going to do
any good.
So I don't know if that's really it's very enticing. But
biathlonstocks.com/penalty loop podcast for 0% off. I saw a sign, it's like those like on a bar, and it'll say like what the special is, and it said the special, you buy 2 drinks and you pay for both of them. And so that's kind of that's what we are right now. Yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah.
We'll let you go.
Have a great week and enjoy rope holding.
Absolutely.
Take care.